Hey, what's going on, fight fans? Hey, this is Coach D, the Wild Man, coming at you again with another episode of Coach D Media. Now, you know what I do with Coach D Media. I talk about all things combat sports related, from the highs to the lows. All right, let's go ahead and get back into it. Today, I'll do something different because this is very special to me. Today, I'm talking about a good friend of mine, Bryan Battle, and how he rose from being a no-name, up-and-coming amateur to now becoming a big name in the UFC, and how he went from Pooh Bear to the Butcher. His rise in combat sports. Why the change? Why from Pooh Bear to the Butcher? So let's go ahead and go into it. So I've known Bryan Battle since 2017, give or take. I've seen him fight. I interviewed one of his fights when he was like 2-1 as an amateur, at Warfare. And he was a nice little kid, whole bunch of energy. Actually, we were roomed together. So when I was starting out as Coach D, doing my Coach D thing for interviews, we all stayed in the same hotel. How funny is that? So I'm way older than Bryan. So I got him by almost 20 years, give or take. So here I am sitting down on a chair trying to get my stuff together. Here comes this young kid full of energy with this wild hair, jumps on the couch next to me and go, hey, who are you? Who are you? I go, hey, I'm Coach D. I do the interviews on media for I Be at Warfare. He says, yeah, man, guess what? Guess what? You're gonna get me an interview, right? He said, I'm gonna be in the UFC. That's exactly what he said. He said, I'm gonna be in the UFC. Right? I was like, all right, slow down. First of all, how about you win this fight coming up tomorrow and don't get the mollywop so I don't have to put you on blast, right? He won this fight and the rest is history. From there, I really got to hang out with Bryan Battle. I followed his career. A lot of the coaches that he trains with are good friends of mine. Keith Richardson is a good friend of mine. I've known Keith Richardson for a long time. Keith Richardson is also an up-and-coming, fighter. Went through the circuit just like Bryan Battle, fought at Warfare, fought at Fight Lab, fought at Conflict, right? Made it up ex-MMA. Then he's now, I think he might be still a belt holder or may just lost the belt at Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. So he's been around for a minute, right? So these are some of the coaches that Bryan grew up with, training hard with, developing himself and becoming a better fighter. As you can see, Bryan cares about everything that he does, right? He's a team player. He supports everybody. He makes sure that his development is online with everybody else, right? So when transitions were happening with Bryan Battle and, where he was training, eventually he was able to kind of go out with another coach named Tom Ziegler, and they went together and, and became Carolina Combat that Bryan Battle was a part of, right? So as that transition happening, Bryan got signed to the UFC for the Ultimate Fighting Championships, right? And that was a big thing, right? So going through the daggone, Ultimate Fighting Championships, it came down to both him and Treshawn Gore, right? Now, Treshawn is out of Georgia and Bryan Battle's out of North Carolina. So that was a big thing. That was a big rivalry because, in the Southeast, you got Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee. They all have their niche of fighters and they're always competing to who's the top guy in the Southeast. So when Bryan Battle and Treshawn Gore both made it to the Ultimate Fighter, it came down the same way that they two had to go head to head to see who was going to win the daggone title of the Ultimate Fighter. So they had to fight it out, and Bryan Battle won. Now, the thing is, I think a lot of fans and a lot of people had Treshawn Gore as the one to watch, right? Ended up being Bryan Battle. So you can see Bryan kind of always had an uphill battle. He always had to, keep improving, showing that he was worthy. I learned down the line that he was over 300 pounds when he got into fighting. You know what I'm saying? He lost all that weight, got in great shape. And I've seen the transformation from the long hair to the short hair, going blonde, getting tattoos. So I seen the transformation. Got married, started having his kids. So now he had more to live for. He had more to, to push. So now with Carolina Combat, he's doing a lot more training, not only with himself, but he's training the up and coming fighters like Shamik Harvey, who's next on the line, going to be the next big thing. Training with him, watching his progression, helping him get better, pushing up the line too. Bryan Battle is very big into coaching the youth, So you got Will Lyles and a couple other guys that, are with the Gamma USA. So he comes out a lot and helps the kids train. So his progression is so well-rounded that I don't want to say a lot of disrespect, but not giving him his due can be painful when you see how hard a fighter works, how hard he works to become successful, be a name, do great things, so the world can see that he is that guy, right? So all his accolades, winning the Ultimate Fighter, keeping a record at the top, making it to when you're fighting, you try your best to be on the main card, making it to the main card, having some of the fastest knockouts in the UFCs, breaking records, making history, all of these things. He's accomplishing all of these things. He's becoming the one to watch. People are starting to paying attention. So now, UFC Fight Night this past weekend, right? It's his time, right? It's his time to go, look, I'm the guy. I'm doing this. I'm doing things. He's fighting in France against Kevin Jousset, how you want to say his last name, right? A guy who just got picked up, right, for this card not too long ago, right? Doesn't have the history in the UFC that Bryan Battle has, right? And the one thing outside of having the belt that shows you up in the ranks is when you come out. If you're up in the ranks, you're the second guy coming out. Means you're the challenger. The guy who comes out first, the guy who comes out first is the challenger. The guy who comes out second is the ranked fighter, right? So Bryan Battle came out first for this fight. So can you imagine the disrespect? Not only the fans are booing him and all that kind of good crap going on, but also he's not the top spot from the UFC. The UFC says, hey, you're going out first, meaning you're not the main guy. You're not the headliner of this match, right? You're not the A side. You're the B side. Even though Bryan Battle had the better record and had more popularity than this guy. Now, this guy may be known in Paris, but not to the UFC fans. I didn't know who this guy was. I knew who Bryan Battle was. I know his accolades and his accomplishments. This guy didn't go through the Ultimate Fighter, all that kind of good crap, right? But yet he didn't get the accolades. So that's when the final straw of Bryan Pooh Bear being laid to rest and Bryan the Butcher comes out full tilt, right? He's not going to take that. He going to body this guy. Let the world know that this guy should not be in my spot. And I'm going to let the world know. And that's exactly what he did. He took this guy out, do the strikes in the second round, referee stoppage, letting this guy know that he wasn't on his level. Bryan Battle turns around and gives the crowd the finger, I'm the guy. How hard I had to work on the mic with Michael Bisping going, I had to work for all this. I had to put all this energy in, all this effort, and this is what you're going to give me? Hey, keep it up, keep it coming. I will not be stopped. And then this fight, Bryan proved it. This guy couldn't slow down Bryan not one time. Cracking him, Bryan still moving forward, right? Bryan is becoming a machine, and that one sign of disrespect from both the UFC and the fans has made the Butcher come full tilt. Now, they label Bryan Battle the heel, which I don't agree with. Bryan is one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. But like I said, he gonna go, look, you're not gonna disrespect me. You're not gonna just dismiss me, all the things that I've accomplished to get here, right? You're not gonna dismiss none of that. And of course, when you're just a fan and you're seeing the UFC, you don't know the fighter's stories until it's out there. And I'm gonna be the one to help put it out there because I've seen Brandon from 2017 on now. I know the hard work. I go to his gyms. I know the fighters he trains. I know the fighters he trains with. I know his passion for the sport. He deserves to be treated with respect. He's earned it, right? So now you got the Butcher. And the Butcher ain't playing. The Butcher's going to bother anybody who gets in his way and let him know that that's what he's going to do. So I want to tell you this story of how Bryan Pooh Bear Battle became Bryan the Butcher Battle. And now everybody is on notice. He gonna let the world know that he gonna deal with everybody the way they need to deal with, and that could be the Butcher style. It is what it is. So this is Coach D doing what I'm doing, calling it like I see it, talking my share of shit. To hear from me again, peace out.